Not Your Normal Kids Show, a series of TikToks and videos created by Beeveekee, and you can probably guess it, this isn't intended for children. There's going to be unsettling visuals, so you have been warned. I'm also going to theorize as we go, so my initial thoughts will change as we progress to the next piece of information. With that being said, let's begin with the first episode. If you want to watch them all before watching this video, links in the description. Now, episode 1. In the intro, it states that this isn't for children, so if you're a parent, this isn't for your kids. So don't get mad because of your lack of supervision if your kids do be watching this. Anyways, we then get introduced to Dottie, a woman who looks like a clown or a mime with a black and white dress, orange hair, and a red hat and gloves. She smiles brightly at the audience before hearing a phone ringing. She turns over and we get introduced to another character named Tall Man. He is so tall that we can't even see him on the screen. Now Dottie takes the phone, and up to this point, everything was high spirits until we start hearing whispering coming from the other line. You didn't close the curtains completely. Why don't you open the door? Open the door. During this, we see Dottie's eyes change, and then we get shown a ominous looking door. The door handle moves down, but Dottie hangs up the phone saying it was the wrong number, and the happy music returns. However, the tone shifts again with Dottie tells us to never open the door to strangers, and her dark irises turn white. After this, Dottie feels hungry, so she takes us to the kitchen, and for a flashing moment, we see a bowl of cockroaches before it turns to grapes. As Dottie raises one up, her jaw stretches before glitching away to the first room. Dottie says goodbye to the audience, and there's also text asking to contact them if they spot the tall man. As the screen moves away, we see Dottie on the phone before a mysterious hand appears and pauses the video. That was the first video, and with all the scary elements and interesting characters, I'm not surprised why this got popular. I'm invested already, and I'm very curious of what's going to happen, especially with that door and whispering voices. Now moving on to the next video, it actually connects to the ending of the first one. We see a woman, and it turns out it's her hand that paused the video. After pausing the video, she then proceeded to listen to music while putting on makeup, and during this, we see a note entering through the side of the door. There was then banging on the door, and when the woman looked, there was no one in sight. No one was outside. But she did spot a note. Let the tall man in. The woman looked back after hearing tapping, and we see the tall man on the other side of the window. Clearly an unsettling sight, so she ran just to turn back and see the tall man is gone. But when the camera focuses back on her, he reappears beside her and then reaches for her. The last text we see is, let the tall man in. Scratch that, don't let the tall man in. Clearly there's more to the tall man than just being a random character that holds the phone, but as for the woman, I believe something was done to her and she turned into Dottie. Now the reason why I believe this woman and Dottie are one and the same is because of this video in which we see that woman who seems to be surrounded by the tall man, and when her head gets moved to the side by the tall man, she snaps into Dottie. At first I wasn't sure if they were the same person despite being played by the same person, because seeing her pause the video in the second episode with Dottie in it kind of confused me, but I'm pretty sure they're the same person. Now back to the tall man. One thing that we can note down is the ability to disappear and reappear at different locations. Teleporting basically. And he has a desire to be allowed in. Even just opening the door allows the tall man to enter, and then that's when he could get his hands on you. Vampire rules almost, but not really. And obviously the tall man is doing this for some type of reason. We can also guess that the tall man's whole business or job is to basically take people from our world and probably move them to that world. Now moving on to the third episode. It's laundry day with Dottie, and as she attempts to turn on the lights, the surroundings turn red and a whispering voice tells Dottie to leave the lights off because the mysterious person likes it when it's dark and because they can't be seen when it's dark. Dottie's eyes start to move down as if melting, and as the dark figure demands for the lights to be turned off, the lights turn on and Dottie finishes her laundry. It's 8 p.m. and Dottie has quite the interesting clock. Anyway, she heads outside and it's time to say goodbye to the sun. See ya. The video glitches and we see text telling us to stop watching this before it's too late. Huh, good advice, but I'm dumb and I'm sticking around. If I get cursed or dragged into this world, that's all me. We return to Dottie and she tells us it's time for bed because if we stay up any longer, Mother would be mad. She even gives us a tip telling us don't leave your legs outside of your blanket past 11. New characters unlocked, that dark creature, the weird looking sun if that counts, and Mother. Now the dark creature, we have no clue what it can do when it gets its hands on you while it's dark, but it's pretty threatening, and as for Mother, there must be something to feel concerned about if staying up late can cause her to be angry. But as we continue, your opinions on the Mother might change a bit. Oh, and as for the tip about having your leg outside of the blanket, it's like a monster under the bed situation, I'm assuming. You get easily grabbed when exposed like that. If I had to guess, maybe that's how the mysterious dark creature can get ya. How frightening. Episode 4, in the background we can see an H on a tree. Now the sun is rising and Dottie moves her hair aside to reveal an eye on the other side of her head. It stares at us for a good while until she turns around, pointing out that, we're early. I don't think she's happy that we're early because the show starts at a specific time, but you know, we're continuing on anyways. We could also see E on a tree. Dottie enjoys a lovely tea provided by the tall man. Turns out it's been a while since we last seen Dottie, and she lectures us that it's wrong to forget about your friends. She even asks the tall man if he agrees with her, and he reaches his hand out towards her threateningly. There's clearly some aggression between these two. Maybe the tall man forgot about Dottie and she's irritated about it? Whatever the situation is, Dottie gets distracted by her clock. For a moment we see text that states unravel reality. Unravel has two definitions. It can mean to undo or it could mean to investigate and solve. If unravel means to undo, this text could be a cry for help. up. Dottie was once a normal woman, but has now found herself becoming the host of a kids show in a world that's cartoonish yet unsettling. Maybe she wants everything to be undone so she can return back to her normal life? However, if unravel means investigate, maybe we're getting told to investigate this world Dottie found herself in and maybe solve the mysteries within it? Then again, we don't even know if the text is intended for the audience. We can see it, but I don't know if we're getting told to investigate or undo reality. Anyways, back to the show, Dottie tells us that she's been planting something and it's close to blooming. At first it looks like a flower before glitching into a hand. We could also see Elle in the background. I feel like we can also connect the glitches that we see throughout the videos in a way of reality being unraveled. Whenever reality gets too twisted or scary, it gets undone and returns back to how it was before, a happy version. So if the text wasn't talking to the audience, instead it could be telling us that reality gets undone quite often in this world. Back to Dottie, she gives us advice about plants and Dottie tells us we can trust her and her face warps and she appears standing in a void before ending the episode. We see a P in the background. Now throughout the video we've been spotting those letters and guess what they spell out? Help. Clearly a cry for help, but from who? Who knows? Maybe Dottie, maybe someone else, maybe Mother. You'll know what I mean when I say that later. Episode 5, and Dottie has a spider problem which she quickly fixes with fire. After this, she made Mother an interesting looking meal with a face, and flashing on the screen we see backwards text that says power is consumption. Mother takes the meal and Dottie says goodbye to the audience. Now I'm going to say this real quick. When people look at the face, they make the connection that that face belonged to the woman from the second episode. I will return to that information towards the end. By the way, as she waves, the background glitches and the tall man makes an entrance. When Dottie moves away, we hear someone saying, "Where am I? Who are you? No, please," and a scream. Like I said, the tall man has a job of bringing people into that world. Now, the next thing that I'm going to say is probably a little bit of a guess that I doubt is correct, but I feel like, at least for most of the people that get brought to that world, maybe they get corrupted and warped into like some of the creatures that are there. For example, like that creature that likes being in the dark, maybe that was once a normal person, but I could be wrong. Now, episode 6. The glitching continues and even changed the title so it would look more friendly. Dottie unexpectedly opened her mouth to reveal an eyeball and had to leave for a bit, but when she returns we hear knocking on the door and get a callback to the first lesson, which is to not open the door to strangers. However, when we look through the peephole, we see a monster and Dottie steps away with a package in hand, but after opening it, it starts to almost suck her in. It was then closed and Dottie teaches us a new lesson to not open unknown packages. And this is also the episode where we learn Dottie's name through Morse code. Now, episode 7. Dottie's going to take us on a picnic, but first we must tell Mother. We need her permission after all. We see Mother again in her room, sitting in the dark with her back to us. Dottie tells her we'll be back, and above the door frame we see 1, 12, 12. This will be important later. In the next scene, we then see more numbers, 9, 19. By the way, Dottie was preparing a basket, and when we looked inside, it looked like normal food until it glitches and reveals what was actually inside, an arm and what I believe is guts. We arrive in the woods, and there's a sign behind Dottie with the numbers 18, 5, 2, 15, 18, 14. Dottie then teaches us a lesson about wildlife, and to be cautious while out in nature. After saying this, an animal in the forest seems to be approaching until the tall man appears, ready to take Dottie home, and Dottie glitches during the goodbye. Now, what's up with all the numbers throughout the video? The way to solve this code is actually given to us in the beginning of the video through the background. ABCD equals 1, 2, 3, 4, so each number correlates with the letter on the alphabet. What do all the numbers translate to? All is reborn. Now, like I mentioned before, I believe that some people that get taken to this world get reborn and become like some type of creature or some type of random thing, but also I'm also guessing that maybe some of them also get used as food, because whenever it shows visuals of food, we always see like body parts of some sort. Whatever it is, people that get dragged to this world, something happens to them. Either they get reborn into a monster, or they get eaten, or maybe I'm just thinking too much into it. You tell me what. And speaking about being reborn, clearly the woman from the second video got reborn and turned into Dottie. Again, at least that's what I'm assuming. Whatever the case is, the code is important to keep in mind because everything that's hidden clearly has some importance to it, so remember that. Now, episode 8. Someone whose face we don't see is channel surfing and found themselves watching Dottie's show. Dottie tells them to step closer, and when they are right in front of the screen, hands grab onto their neck and we hear giggling before the video ends. I'm assuming they got dragged into that world. Many people believe that this person becomes the tall man, but personally I don't really know. Until we get more confirmation, I'm just going to leave that as like a question mark for myself, but you all can probably make connections there that I'm not seeing. And I think the one reason why I'm a little confused is because Dottie is there, and the thing is, the tall man brought that woman from the second episode and turned her into Dottie, so how could Dottie grab that guy and turned him into the tall man? Unless there's like some weird time stuff going on, but I don't know. So I feel like maybe other people would probably have better answers because like I'm trying to figure it out and I don't know, you tell me in the comments. Maybe there was something right in front of me that I missed. But again, some people believe this person's the tall man, other people don't. We'll see. Now moving on to episode 9, we begin with the view of a door and hearing footsteps before turning around to see Dottie telling us not to be there. She even ran up to us, so she seems to be in a hurry about anything that involves this door. We then move on to having a conversation with Dottie and she tells us that we don't look too well. Dottie assumes that we had a bad dream and gives us advice of what to do after having a bad dream. We must whisper our dreams into running water. Dottie demonstrates and things obviously get spooky before returning to normal. I don't know what Dottie's dreaming about, but that is kind of unsettling. Anyways, Dottie tells us that she needs to clean her room because cleanliness is important, but the sound of heart beating and the view of the door is interrupting the lesson. Dottie then says this: "Have you ever known you were better than what the world let you believe?" It glitches and we see the text manipulator before the video ends. I wonder if that's telling us that Dottie is a manipulator. Moving on to episode 10, it's Q&A time! And it begins with people asking for the tall man. Dottie inhales all the comments and reminds us that she's the host of the show. Clearly there's still aggression between the two, and she tells us that he's only the help while she's our friend. Dottie's clingy now. Now, as for the remainder of the video, she answers questions, and when she tells us that we can trust her, the video glitches and the word liar appears along with the more unsettling looking Dottie. I thought Dottie was a victim, but now I'm seeing her as the mastermind, or a villain. We can probably guess that Dottie's embracing her role in this world, or maybe she's being mind controlled? Whatever it is, episodes like 8 and 9 already clued us in that Dottie is becoming more accepting of this world. She took a person in episode 8, I'm assuming to help feed Mother or whatever other use they have to make the show better, and in episode 9, I believe that she said she believes she's better than what the world believes? So she's getting an ego. Ahaha, I don't know. In this show world, she has power and influence. For example, something prevented the tall man from touching her, so she clearly has some form of power in this world. Or like how she pulled a flamethrower out of nowhere when dealing with the spiders. She can do whatever she wants in this world because she's the host. And I'm guessing the viewers like her, and she likes that the viewers enjoy her show. The power and influence is maybe getting to her head. So if she's not being mind controlled, maybe she's just addicted to the influence that she gains from being the host of the show. As for the tall man, he's gone from seeming like a threat to now just being Dottie's helper. If anything, Dottie's the more intimidating character out of everyone that we've seen so far. By the way, when the episodes end, Dottie actually tells us that the tall man is who brings the people to our world, so we were correct on that guess. His job is to lure people in. Additionally, I also noticed that Dottie seems to be a lot more aggressive recently, and another question that she answers shows that she finds happiness with power. Another thing to take note of is that when she was questioned about the door, she didn't even want to acknowledge it, and when she was questioned about nightmares, she feared being forgotten. The last question asks is how can we get to our world, and it glitches with text saying, "Why do you want to live in this hell?" That's where the video ends. Again, I genuinely thought Dottie was a victim in this situation, but now it's clear that it's not the case. She's the host, she's the boss, she has the power, and she likes the influence she's getting, and she loves the audience, and the tall man is just her helper, and she's the one in control of everything, I'm assuming? But then that leaves the question, who's leaving these codes and messages? Maybe it's a part of her consciousness that's being suppressed and her past self is begging for help. Whatever the situation is, the Dottie we have at the moment is loving the attention she's getting and embracing her role as the host of the show. So she's a bad guy at the moment, maybe? I mean, to us, she treats us as a friend, so she's probably not going to be evil to us, but then again, she is allowing audience viewers to be dragged into this world to be used as whatever use they're being used for, so clearly not a good person. Not at the moment, at least. Episode 11, and the tall man appears to give Dottie a letter. Dottie needs to do a quick chore and leaves us with a friend to distract us while she's gone. But Dottie is clingy and tells us not to get too attached, so remember that. This new friend then plays something for us, and in her mouth we see a door. As for what we hear, I'm trapped in a horrible twisted hell of a never-ending labyrinth of death and rebirth, all to feed a narcissistic demon's dream. Dottie returns after this, and we begin to play with clay. She made Mother out of clay, but Dottie seems to be angry with Mother and won't give her screen time. Mother is being punished because she's ungrateful. There's also moments where we hear things in reverse. He who spoke this way was reset. Heed my warning. She says not to open the door for strangers, but maybe one day the stranger can open the door for you. I'm not the enemy. Prediction time! I'm guessing that the voice that we heard coming from the doll friend is the woman Dottie used to be, so she's not completely gone and she's somewhere in that world, and there's someone who's secretly wanting to help us by warning us with these messages and codes. As for the door, maybe this is like reverse psychology? Dottie is making us scared of the door, but if we actually open it or allow it to be opened, maybe something good could come out of it? Maybe it could free Dottie. Return her back to how she used to be? Maybe? Anyways, after this episode is a Halloween special, and we begin with Dottie and another person before returning to her decorated house. It was an interesting beginning, but you know, we move away from that quickly. I could be wrong, but I'm guessing that other person was the woman from the second episode? Anyways, we hear knocking on the door, and you guessed it, Dottie isn't going to open the door. She told us never to open the door to strangers, so she's following her rules. However, the door is starting to crack, so that could be unsettling or a good thing, maybe a little bit of both. Back to Dottie, she turns on the TV for a movie night, and a hand reaches out to her before the TV shuts off. Okay, someone was trying to grab her and failed. Since the first activity of movie night failed, we're moving on to the next one, which is Bloody Mary. After Dottie said it 3 times, we see a woman crying in the mirror. Dottie looks at the corner for a moment before looking back in the mirror, and after closing her fists, the mirror breaks before the monster could grab her. I'm guessing she did that with whatever weird powers she got. She broke a mirror that could bring bad luck, but you know, she don't care. She's the host. She has the power here. Anyway, towards the end, I I think she wants us to dress like her for Halloween, you know, to feed into that ego, maybe. And that's the end of the video. Again, Dottie is clingy over us, and she likes the influence she's getting from being the host of the show, I'm assuming, so, you know, it's not a surprise that she wants us to dress like her. I would probably consider it, but Halloween passed, so yeah. Anyways, let's share everything we know so far and discard the theories that we think don't work anymore. The Tall Man, not as powerful as we thought in the beginning. He's just a helper. Did he drag the woman into the world who became Dottie? Yes, but Dottie is the host and the one with power, not him, remember that. He only brings people into that world and that's all. And I'm also assuming he works on some of the behind the scenes kind of stuff, like bringing messages and letters and looking out for like specific random stuff and telling it to Dottie. And as for Dottie herself, she loves power, influence, and attention, but seems to hate being ignored, forgotten, or having her power threatened or belittled, I'm assuming? That last part is my guess, though. It's also believed that she was once an ordinary woman, but that changed and she is embracing her role as the show's host. However, I don't believe she's fully gone, the woman she used to be. According to many people's theories, many suspect that the woman from the second video was split into two, one half becoming Dottie and the other half becoming Mother. Like I mentioned a while back, I thought Mother was going to be a threatening force, someone with power over Dottie, but now I'm starting to believe that Mother isn't anything special. Like, she's important, but she's not like powerful, evil, special, you know, whatever I'm trying to say here. She doesn't have power or influence like Dottie and might be more similarly treated like a pet. She gets a roof over her head and she gets fed, but she's not exactly someone with authority, like you assume a parent would have. The one with the authority is Dottie, and Dottie alone, because she's the host. And the reason why others believe that the woman from the second episode was split into two is because the face we get shown to feed Mother looks kind of similar to the woman from that episode. And in episode 7, I think Mother is wearing that face. It could be wrong, but it could explain why Dottie is the way that she is. Maybe her more threatening and power-hungry side is with Dottie, while what remains is with Mother. So her empathetic side is with Mother, or her good side is with Mother. I don't know how to explain that too well, but like, she's split into two, one side being good, one side being bad, I'm assuming. One side being powerful, one side being weak. Now moving away from that, as for the door, there's also another theory about the woman if she was split into two. If her other half isn't with Mother, it could be on the other side of the door. If that's the case, Mother is something else. Clearly something still important, but we don't know what yet. If I remember correctly, Dottie said that she's trapped to feed a narcissistic demon's dream, and maybe Mother is that demon, or connected to that demon in some way, so she needs to feed Mother to fuel this demon? So theory 1, the woman in episode 2 is split into Dottie and Mother, or theory number 2, the woman from episode 2 is split into two, one being in Dottie and one being in the other side of the door. And Mother is connected to some narcissistic demon that needs to be fed. I'm really indecisive and all these theories kind of make sense to me in some way, but also confuse me. I don't know which one would have more merit and which one not. I'm leaning towards mostly maybe like the other half of that woman is behind the door and that's why Dottie doesn't want it open, because if she gets that back, she won't be like the host of some sort, or she would lose her power. I don't know. Here's the thing. She might not even be split into two. That woman from the second episode could just be fully with Dottie and she just likes the power that she's getting. If that woman wasn't split into two and she is fully Dottie, just more enhanced to be like the character of a host, maybe a little bit of mind control could be meddling into this as well, but I don't know. Because she has power, and like my other assumption too is that because she's like has the power and she's the host, maybe another reason why she doesn't want the door open is because this maybe like the narcissistic demon is on the other side of the door, and if that door opens it could threaten her power. But I don't know if that one really makes too much sense or if I'm looking too much into it. I don't know. I come up with theories, I look at other people's theories, and I can't choose which one I like the most because I feel like the majority of them are pretty interesting and could work. I don't know how to explain myself, I'm trying. You know what? You tell me what you believe and tell me which theories I provided make more sense, or give me your own theories and tell me why you think mine's is wrong, or tell me why you think other people's theories are wrong. Tell me what you're thinking. Maybe you have better connections than I am, because I tend to spitball my ideas and my theories, and usually like some land, some don't. Maybe I get some things right, but then I get the rest wrong. You tell me in the comments, because I feel like a lot of you are a lot more smarter than me. I provide the information, you help correct me, and then I get better as we move on. And also, I kind of believe it's a good thing that I provide multiple theories, because then that means you don't have to just rely on one idea, you can rely on multiple ideas. So you guys can think about what I said, and maybe figure out which points that I've said that you like the most, connect them together, and then be like, okay, this is what I believe. Sometimes I wish I wasn't indecisive, this would be so much easier for you guys, but you know, it's always fun to theorize with other people, so theorize with me! Go to the comment section, tell me what you're thinking, tell me that I'm wrong, tell me that I'm right, do whatever you like. Anyways, that's Not Your Normal Kid Show. Again, created by Beeveekee. Links are in the description. Again, I recommend that you watch them because it's really fun to watch. And I'm sure there's going to be more because there's obviously still more to tell with this story. I'm still very much confused about Mother and the Tall Man. And also Dottie. And also that mysterious dark creature. Confused about everything, honestly. And the narcissistic demon. Is the narcissistic demon Mother or Like, I'm still trying to figure this out and I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna end the video right now or I'm going to be rambling on. And look, I'm trying not to ramble on, but sometimes you gotta ramble on just to get the ideas out there. Anyways, I hope you have a good day. I better not catch you dying on me, and goodbye. Woo!